So far we talked about how to represent decimals using base 10 block grid. So this is 1 and the 1/10 and decimal block is going to be 100. That's what we've been talking about. So now using those knowledge, I want to talk about how to then connect fractions with decimals, because they learned fractions already and they need to represent decimals using fraction concept. And whenever they read the decimals, it's like a fraction concept, 1/10, 2/10, 5/10, like that, right? So what about here? So I want to know friendly fraction decimals. This is a handout. You can print out from the canvas. So friendly fraction decimals in here. So how would you introduce 1/2 is what does it mean in decimals, right? That's what they need to know. So that's what I want to connect the fractions to the decimals using grid paper. So let's talk about here. 1/2, right? 1/2. So what does 1/2 mean? So we've been talking about the fraction denominator is equal number of groups or equal number of pieces, right? So 1/2 means 2 equal size pieces. So I have one whole in here. Then do you think you can divide into halves? Why not? So I think I can do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can divide into half. So I have 2 equal size pieces. Do you see it? And 1/2 means how many of them are shaded? 1 out of 2 is shaded. That's what we do 1/2. So now I want to read this as decimals in here. So in decimal word, we talk about that. What does this represent? This one stick represent? We learned that this represent 1/10. And how many of them do I have colored in here? So 5 of them. 1, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and 5/10. So kids can see them. 1/2 means we have 2 parts and one is shaded. But if I want to change it into decimals in here, I can write it down 5/10. And this is how we read decimals and write decimals. And this is how we can connect decimals from fractions. Do you see what I'm doing here? Otherwise, we have to do all the division like this. 1 divided by 2. And you have to do the long division. But this is what we are trying to show them. What about B? 3/10. So what does 3/10 means? I have 10 equal parts, which this is already good. This is already 10 equal parts in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then how many of them are shaded? So 1/10, 2, 3. These 3 of them are shaded. So that's the fraction concept. So I have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. So how are we supposed to write decimals in here? It's going to be 3/10. Good. What about C? What about C? What does C means? I have 4 equal parts, right? So I'm going to divide this into 4 equal parts. Can you do that? So I'm going to have 4 equal parts. 1 like this. And do I have 4 equal parts? Yes, I do have 4 equal parts, and then one of them is shaded. So I'm going to shade it in here. So now what I need to do is I'm going to count how many hundreds are shaded in here. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 hundreds I have here. So just 3/4. So I'm going to have, sorry about that. So it's 1/4. I have another 2/4 and 3/4 are shaded. So I can count how many of them are shaded in here. So I can count by tens like this. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, and 5 more. So I have 75 hundredths I have here from 3/4. So my answer is 75 hundredths. So this is, we can use friendly fraction and find out the answer. What about D? 1/5, which means I'm going to have 5 equal parts. So I have here, you can do this way too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have one of them is shaded. So this is shaded right here. right? Then how can I write this as a decimal? How many shaded parts I have? 20 hundredths or 2/10. So I have 1/10, 2/10. Right? So my answer is going to be, for that one, D, 2/10 or 20 hundredths. Either way is fine. What about here? We just practiced for C here, so I think you can do for the E. Have 1/4. So again, I'm gonna cut that into fourth. That's the fraction concept. And I have 1 shaded. So what is my decimal in here? It's going to be 5 times 5, 25 hundredths. I have 2/10 and 5 hundredths. So that is E. Okay, so this is something they can try. Otherwise, we need to show them again here. If we want to show them 1/4 is how to write down 1/4 as decimal, they need to do long division. Wow, your favorite long division again, right? So I have to go like 0 and then bring down decimal. What does it mean? It's very difficult to see. But if you connect this visually in here, kids can see that why 1/4 is 25 hundredths. They can see the connections in here. Okay? So let's talk. So this is something you can try in here. So I don't want to do everything in here, but you're more than welcome to challenge it here. So, but let's talk about 1/8. It's relatively easier than third and sixth in here. So I'm gonna use the bigger one so you can see better. Let's talk about the challenge one. Let's do this way. Let's do the challenge one here. Let's do 1/8. So if kids have a good fractional knowledge, they might want to do it. I know that 1/4, right? 1/4, I'll use different color. 1/4 is like this. But 1/8 is a half of 1/4, right? So instead of coloring everything in here, I want to divide it in half. So how many equal parts do I have? I can have 8 equal parts. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. So I represent 1/8 successfully here. My question is, how can I write down this as decimals in here, right? So 1/8 is how many hundredths I feel fully colored in, so I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And these two are 11, these two are 12, and I have half left over. So now I have to figure out my place value here. So this one represents what? 1/100, but I have 10 of them. So I can see I have 1/10 here, 1/10. Do you see what I'm doing? 1/10 in here, and I can make another hundredths here. So these two makes 100. These two make 200. But this one is not yet there. So I can have 200. So 1/10 here, and 100, 200, mine has 200. And remember this, we talk about that when we want to represent thousandth place, we want to write down like this, another place value. So this one is smaller than hundreds. And then this is thousandth place value. And I have a half of them, which is 5. So my answer is 125 thousandths. Okay? So this is something, if they have really good knowledge of fraction in here and number relationship, kids can do it. What about let's talk about 1/3 one more time. And that's going to be it for this one. So I want you to think about that, how to connection fractions and decimals. So kids can see that which one is the smallest number by looking at the colored shape in here again here. So this one and that one, that one, that one, they can easily see this is the biggest fraction, this is next to biggest fraction, and then this one and that one and that one they can see, right? And then they can find out the decimals, which one is largest decimal too. So they can see the connections. What about here? 1/3. Let's do 1/3. What does 1/3 mean? 1/3 means how many equal parts do I have? I have 3 equal parts. But this one, 10 is not divided evenly by 3. So I don't know. But I know that 90 is evenly divided by 3. So I'm going to just working on 90 here. Don't worry about that one. I wanna come back to it. I have 90 here. So I'm going to divide them into thirds. So I can do it. 1/3 and 2/3. And I can color it in. Maybe this is easier than the other one. So how many tenths I colored in so far? I colored in, right? 3/10 I have fully colored in. So now I have that one here, but 10 is not divided by evenly by 3, but I know that 9 are evenly divided by 3. So I'm gonna do 3, 3. So I'm gonna color in 3 here. Do you see what I'm talking about here? So I have 3/3 in here, 1, 2, 3, and the other place value 10 times smaller. So what does this one here? This is 100s, and how many 100s do I have? I have 3 hundredths. And here, this is, I don't know about this, but I think I can something like this, and another thousandth place value, but I have 3 of them. It's going to be like this. So something kids can visualize and rationalize the answer here, why 1/3 is 333 unrepeated here. Okay, so something they can see the fraction and the relationship fraction and decimal. We are talking about the same number, but just different representation. Does it make sense? So this is something you can try to build a decimal connection to the fractions. Good. I hope you will be able to use this someday in your classroom. Challenge your kids and thinking about connection between decimals and fractions.